reevaluate, get the application done, and then they would just send it there, and then boom, bada bam. I wait those 90 days or 60 days, and I get that application. So guess who's in that process? Who's doing that process right now? I'm gonna be one of those cool kids. Yeah. I think sometimes we just forget that we're still human beings. Yeah, I think it's important that everyone should know their status. Knowing your status is the first step to really kind of having that conversation. I think it's important we learn how to tackle stigma and get rid of it. I think it's such an extremely amazing thing that I get to do this every day and meet such great people and learn their story and share some of their story with the people that watch us every day. To remember to stay hopeful in victory. Happy almost Friday. Yes, y'all, we are almost there. Let me just say that. Like, if you haven't gone and watched my last episode, go and watch the last episode. I talk about, I talk about HIV treatment works. Y'all know what that means? Yes, you do, because guess what? You watched the last episode, and therefore you have grown. So, HIV treatment works just talks about the focus of how getting on treatment can improve your life, longer life, all that great stuff, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, things like that. And I kind of talk about it from a personal perspective of the obstacles I faced when it came to getting on treatment and then kind of staying on treatment as well. And y'all know that shit is not easy. It really isn't. It's kind of one of the hardest steps, and I talk about it in the last episode. Let's go ahead and jump right into the shits with a dab of that coffee. Bing! I am Dusty Lion, and this is the Hopeful and Victory Talks channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking about prevention is care. Can you run that graphic, please? Thank you, CG operator. Today is prevention is care. So whenever I say prevention or care, I want to save myself the time with editing. But yeah, if I say prevention is care or prevention or care, y'all go hear that hashtag and that mother loving ding every time. It's a resource toolkit for healthcare providers, but as for a person such as myself looking on the outside in, I look at it as, or we're to look at it as a campaign to drive healthcare providers to talk about HIV treatment, HIV prevention, medicine, about all those great things, but it gives them the tools to kind of start that conversation. Because as a provider, and I can't speak directly from as a healthcare provider, I wish I kind of brought my friend Sade here on board, because y'all love that video, and she loved being on here, so maybe I will get her back on here so we can come back and talk about this topic. But prevention is care. Is focused on having those conversations. So as always, I take a little bit of my personal experiences and mark it into the campaign so I can actually talk to you about it, and we can actually just talk about it, because there is tea in all types of stories, right? Right. Actually, I have an even better story. Because like I said, we're here to have uncomfortable conversations, right? Right. So we about to talk about when I actually first got my labs done. The second time I got my labs done. I was still in Charleston, and I went to my specialist, and I was just like, hey, get my labs drawn. She's like, okay, well, since you are MSM, which I don't like that term. And my doctor was like, yeah, since you are an MSN, we do need to go ahead and like do a certain test. Now, the certain test includes a rubber glove, some lube, and a finger. That's all I'm gonna say. And like I was for my second visit being HIV positive, it was kind of like a thrown into the fire. I was not prepared for it because I necessarily didn't know what they were doing it for until afterwards. So when it had happened, like a month later, I got a letter in the mail and they're like, oh, well, after your results, you don't have butt cancer. And I'm just like, wait, what? Was she gonna talk to me about this? Was she gonna tell me about this? Like when I got that letter, I was really thrown off. And I was talking to my roommate, and I was like, I'm like, what? Is this a thing that I have to be concerned about? But it's not just being HIV positive and can develop that. That's just men who have sex with men can develop that. And that's why I was just kind of like, what the hell? I need to like actually know when I go in, I need to know what they're gonna do. And what it applies for, because not only am I paying for this, but it's for my ease of mind. I'm gonna make sure I know what I'm going to talk about. Go in with a open mind. Go to my appointments with an open mind and an open head, so that I can talk to my healthcare provider about things that are affecting me directly. That way, we're able to actually pinpoint what exactly the care that I need, versus just like, oh, you're one of this, generalization, let's do this. Now, prevention is care, is about, is focused on getting clinicians who work with people living with HIV to talk about the importance of getting on treatment, getting into care, staying on care, maintaining that. It's a part of Act Against AIDS, which is like a big major campaign, but under this major campaign are small little segments. You can try and throw that graphic up there if we find one. If not, yes, it's just Act Against AIDS. Not an ongoing battle, but an ongoing debate when it comes to going into your healthcare provider and knowing what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. When I go in, I feel like my healthcare provider isn't talking to me about certain things. They aren't telling me about new updates, maybe new medication, where we are as far as like the treatment with HIV, the cure HIV, things of those realm. And so one of the great things that I think that the conversation that needs to be had when that topic comes to play is the fact that we're also liable ourselves to actually go out and do the homework ourselves, because our provider is not only just working with us and our treatment, our regimen, but they're also working with many other people in the community. So I think one of the things that was missing earlier on, and a little bit still now in my healthcare service myself, is that informational piece where I can sometimes ask my healthcare provider, and sometimes they kind of don't know the answer. And guess what? That's okay, because what I can do myself is like, hey, my provider didn't know that answer. Let me go and look into this. And then when I have some information, next time I come back in, we can talk about that. Because it's kind of a learning process before both of you guys. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to learn and thrive, and be better, have better treatment, provide better treatment, and that's the ultimate goal. The 50-50 thing, and it really is. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had my doctor's appointment, and I talked about I have the most weirdest appetite, and like one moment I could be like, I just want to eat everything, and another moment I'm like, I am not hungry, but I am hungry. Like, look at me, I have a great figure, like the body is great and all, you know, I can show you all that. I do battle with ups and down appetite moods. So I talked to my provider, and I was just like, before I even talked to her, because I was like, should I consider getting on medicinal marijuana? Like, you know, hey, boost my appetite without all the other effects if I just go out and just buy some weed. I looked into getting a green card is another way to call it. But how I learned about this program was because at the time, back in back in November, I was talking with a reporter, and he had mentioned that he did a story here in Bloomington about it, and then he had suggested me to this store here in town, the Green Solution. And so I gave them a call. I did some homework on the application, gave them a call, asked them about the process, and then they told me what I needed to do. And then that's when I got prepared before my appointment. And they were like, talk to your provider because your healthcare provider would need to send us documentation for the need for this, sign off, all that great stuff. Of course, the application too. But the whole process takes about 90 days once the application gets to the state. So I talked to my provider, and I said, I've been having very ups and down, like appetites, and I'm trying to figure out how to combat it because there are times where I just cook a meal and like I don't want to even eat it because I'm just like, I don't want it. And there'd be moments where I just want to eat everything, but like, and I do at that point, I fucking do, but I'm trying to find a balance in this because I never had this issue, to be quite honest, before. Like, I never had ups and down food swings. Ooh, can we hashtag food swings? Food swings. Yes. Ooh, okay. All right, that might be a thing. But yeah, so we talked about it, and she's like, okay, well, there is a program, and I told her, I'm like, I've been thinking about getting on medicinal marijuana. I talked to this organization here in town. They said these are the things. And she's like, yeah, I heard of that. And she told me about one that she was familiar with that has an on-site clinician who can just go ahead and take care of the situation right then and there, send an application, versus like me filling out the application, then her signing off on some stuff, and then we send it. Instead, she would send my records to that clinician. I would stop in there. They would reevaluate, get the application done, and then they would just send it there, and then boom, bada bam. I wait those 90 days or 60 days, and I get that application. So guess who's in that process? Who's doing that process right now? That's what I mean about understanding what it is that's affecting us personally, because every patient is different. Every patient responds different to HIV medicine. That even goes for PrEP. If you are HIV negative, there may be some side effects that you are experiencing because you're now on this regimen that you haven't experienced before. And what you need to do, and I say this because, like I said, I wasn't the biggest on paying attention to my body, my healthcare, self-care, and kind of talking about care for myself with my provider when the time came to that point. And like I said, even early on in the phase, early on when I found out that I was HIV positive, I still wasn't greatly involved in my healthcare. I was like, okay, these people know what they're talking about. They know what's best. Let's go ahead and let's just get it done with, get it over with. And that was a mindset for the first 2 years, to be perfectly honest. Because it was really hard for me to just really cope with the fact that I had to do this for the rest of my life. And that was the hard part. I mean, there were times where I had mood swings. There were times where I had food swings. Hashtag that. And then I was just like, it is what it is. I guess I'm just trying to live for something, first 2 years. And then the last 2 years, I'm like, you know what? After my incident when like my liver and kidney, I'm like, yo, I need to get on top of this. I do. Because like I said, no one's going to do it for me. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm single for the rest of my life, which I'm totally happy about and I'm totally okay with, if that's the case, I need to be able to take care of my damn self. And then also, I need to be able to take care of my dog as well whenever I'm having issues with myself. Because if she becomes sick while I'm sick, the world's on fire. You know what I'm saying? Blah! That's why we're stressing prevention is care, because it starts with us. It starts with the patient. If we know exactly what our issue is, what the root is, then we can talk with our provider, and then we can actually pinpoint what the issue is. Unless you got a real emergency, then you need to go to the ER, honey, and you know how to get there. Speaking in terms of just an African American man, I'm going to go back to the term where we necessarily don't talk about our mental health. It has been shown in the past, and that is changing now. I won't say that we still are, but it is changing now. But in the past, it's been shown that we don't talk about how we feel, some of the issues that we physically are feeling or mentally are feeling, because we're affected by this hyper masculinity or toxic masculinity, that we have to be okay, and that we have to be strong. And it's like, yeah, you can be strong, but in order for you to be strong, you have to have weaknesses. Like, you just can't be strong. It's like, no, how did you become strong? Like, you started off at one point weak, and now you're strong, but you still have weaknesses. You're not weak, you just have weaknesses. You need to pay attention to our body and not just pay attention to the shoes or the clothes or the trends and all that great stuff. Yeah, those are great. Hella, rock with it. Go with the flow. But the most important part is to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because when we're able to set an example for ourselves, we're able to set an example for our peers, we're able to set an example for the next generation, we're able to set an example to our family. For example, Family Week, when I'm able to talk about my status and talk about sex education, my experiences with acquiring an STD and then going to get treatment about it, and talking about that with my cousin on camera with you guys, that's a huge, that's such a great, it's not a huge step, that is amazing. That is such an amazing way to talk about sex education and some of the fears and the fears that we have when it comes to talking about it, and then going to get treatment. Like, we don't want to stigmatize that conversation, because that's why we feel so alone and feared in the first place, is because we're like, oh, like we demonize it because it didn't affect us directly, and now that it has, we have now committed some great sin, or we have we made the biggest mistake in our lives, and therefore I'm not human, I'm not normal. And it's like, no, you are. You're not the only person who has gotten an STD. But if you don't talk about it, then how are you helping yourself? How are you going to be better? How are you going to be stronger? So going back to preventionist care within the Black community plays an important part, because we all need to set an example. Like my cousin Kayla said, she goes to the clinician for the smallest things, and I think that's a great fucking thing, because like if I had that mentality coming out of high school, I don't think I would be in a situation where I would have acquired HIV. I don't think I would have been in a situation where I acquired an STD later on as well. But I think the fact that I did acquire the HIV, I'm able to kind of come here, share my piece, share my experience with you guys for what my experience is so far, because I'm a young cat. I'm a young cat, and there is so much life in this body and so much life in your body behind the screen, okay? Why not talk about this and make it, normalize it and break the stigma? So preventionist care is starting with us having these conversations about the issues that we're being affected with, and then researching, and then going to our provider and saying, hey, this is something out of nowhere, or this is something small. It can be as small as I got a bump on my neck, and it's been there, it won't go away. It might be a cyst. It might be a pimple. HIV is affecting young Black men and young Latino men who identify as gay or bisexual. Those rates are high. Can I get a boop? That'd be cool, right? My CG operator, he went home already, so I'm not sure if he's still throwing up graphics. It's important that we talk about this, because we need to normalize the fact that, yes, you are human and you will make mistakes and you will suffer some consequences, but you shouldn't have to suffer alone or suffer in silence. That isn't the case. So prevention is care is one of the ways. There are 4 categories in this kit The first category is HIV treatment and care. The second category is HIV transmission prevention. The third one is earning a CMC credit online. And provider is. And the fourth important piece in that toolkit is patient resource. That's going to be the ultimate big one right there, because like I said, if we know the root cause, then we're able to tackle it with a solution. HIV treatment and care is solely focused on this piece in the toolkit. It's solely focused on viral suppression, retention care, having all of those conversations in the most brief manner, brief encounters, because of course doctors have to see many patients, but within the scope, the time of your appointment, doctors can have the things that they need to talk about, recent updates on antivirals and things like that. So this is a great resource for them. The second piece of the toolkit, which I mentioned earlier, was the HIV transmission prevention. This allows our healthcare provider to stay up to date on the latest prevention sciences in today's modern technology. But they're able to like go in and like okay, cool. Run those graphics. Just keep scrolling through this. There's so much great information. And research some of the different catalogs that are out there. POS Magazine, Positive Awareness, CDC, HIV.gov. They all have great resources where they just have it there for you guys to learn. And then when you have that information, you can take it to your provider and be like, hey, I saw this type of program. Or, hey, I'm dealing with this type of issue. What can we do? So, again, hashtag prevention is care, guys, because that is the campaign today. And I really hope you guys enjoy the episode, because guess what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. And that's the end of the week. Like, I can't believe I'm hitting the 20 episode mark. I am so happy to still be getting the support from you guys, as well as the push to keep pushing out this information, because next week we're going to be doing some really awesome stuff, and I can't wait to do it with you guys. But I am Dusty Lion, and this is Hopeful and Victory Talks. Don't forget the hashtag prevention is care. If you do like this video, get the focus. If you do like this video, and share, subscribe. I'm on Facebook. And my page is Hopeful and Victory Talks. And as always, you guys stay hopeful in victory. Bye. Peace.